Okay, so first of all, how are you?
I am doing very well, and good to hear you.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so I will start with the questions first. Okay, so because the guys have been waiting for a long time, so I think so I should start with the questions.
Okay.
Okay, okay, so Roland Butcher, the cricketer, how did that all started? Kindly take us to your childhood.
Well, basically, I was born in Barbados, in the parish of St. Philip, which is perhaps the biggest parish in Barbados. Barbados is not a
Okay,
big place; it's only 166 square miles. I lived most of my early life in East Point, St. Philip, which is on the eastern tip of
all
Barbados.
right.
Fairly rural area, but right on the coast. I actually lived there for the first 13 and a half years. I went to England when I was about 13.
Okay, so anything you want to add upon this, like how did that all started? Your playing and all, who in your family supported you as a cricketer
Right.
in your
Well,
development as a cricketer?
yeah. Well, basically, as a youngster growing up, uh, you had very limited options, particularly the area that we lived. It was probably about 15 miles away from the capital. So in those days, transportation would be very difficult to get into the young area. So you were limited in terms of the sports that you could do. So basically, you either played cricket or you did track and field. For some reason, I was very interested in it. I just
Okay.
found the game to be a game that I really liked. We didn't really have, in my household at the time, didn't have a lot of people who were involved with cricket. I mean, they like cricket. I mean, basically, I was brought up by a lot of women, so all the males were overseas. So I was brought up by my grandmother and aunt and cousins. So the house was basically full of women. They didn't cricket to them was not that important. My cousin, she was the only one who was really interested in cricket. I remember she took me to my very first test match live. I think it would have been about 96, Australia against West Indies here in Barbados.
Okay.
And that was a memorable test match for me because Australia, Bobby Simpson and Bill Lawry put on over 300 for the first wicket. So that was
Oh,
my introduction. But basically, as a kid, no one really was pushing me. I just liked the game. I just really wanted to get involved with it. But while I was at primary school, then two famous West Indian players in Charlie Griffith, who's now Charles Griffith, and Seymour Nurse,
okay.
they worked for the National Sports Council, and their jobs were to go to the primary schools and coach cricket. So basically, they would get to our primary school maybe once a month. So at that point, that's the only time you really had any coaching. The rest of the time, you just played as kids together. You made up your own rules. You ran the game yourself. Basically, you just learned the skills that way.
Okay, so that was the thing actually. Uh, you were really supported by your cousin for your love towards the game, and you really liked the game. And your first test match you was in Barbados in 1966, Australia versus West Indies, and that was a turning point, I guess, in your life, your dream to play cricket. I think so that you're watching the live match, and that was the main motivational factor. As a child, children, you just you felt that I can be the cricketer now.
Yeah, absolutely. As I said before that, obviously, you played as kids and, you were keen to play. But I think having seen that first game live, I mean, even before that, we did actually get to see cricket on the screens because the education department, what they would do also is perhaps on a monthly basis, they would come to an area at our primary school, usually in the night, and in those days they had a big van. It was something called it was like a mobile cinema, and they had a big screen. Everyone would sit on the ground, and on the big screen they would actually show all cricket matches from the West Indies back years, Sir Frank Worrell and Sir Everton Weekes and those. So you got to see that. But I think having gone to Kensington to see my first live match and actually see West Indian cricketers and Australian cricketers, I think that really, I felt this is what I'd like to do.
Okay, that really boosted you.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just got that. I'll just move forward to my next question now. The cricketer you admired most while the time you were developing your cricketing skills. In short, your role model.
Absolutely. I mean, that's very interesting because, I mean, as a kid growing up in Barbados, it seemed my role model seemed a very strange one because my role model as a youngster was Colin Bland from South Africa. Now, I had never ever seen him play, but I did a lot of reading and I liked what I read, the exploits of him particularly as a fielder. He was an outstanding fielder and a batsman, but perhaps a better fielder than a batsman. So he seemed to catch my imagination, and in many ways, as a youngster, I without seeing him, I tried to model myself, imagine the things that he did, and try to model myself on him. And I think pretty true to form later on in my life, you would probably find that I was very similar to him in that, you know, perhaps I was a much better fielder than a batsman, because maybe that's the thing that drove me. So he really was my role model, even though I'd never seen him.
Okay, that is, of course, the person you admire is not exactly the person you usually see. It's the habit of those persons, the qualities of that person that you want to acquire in yourself to be a successful person in any profession. So that is true indeed.
Yeah, absolutely. Because once I read and liked him, even when we were playing as kids, you know, I would refer to myself as Colin Bland, and my friends would call me the same thing. So I really took on his personality without knowing anything about him besides what I read.
Okay, that is a true role modeling, modeling with true heart, role modeling with true heart. I must say that.
Yes. I mean, it's I think you would. I mean, probably these days now it's more accessible for young children to, you know, see videos of persons, you know, who can
they admire.
They admire. But obviously, in those days,
there was
nothing at all. You only saw, anything you saw was only of West Indian cricketers. You didn't see anyone else. So it seemed a strange thing to have such a role model, but I think it worked well for me.
Okay, that is great. Okay, so he was your role model from heart. You haven't seen him, but actually you really liked his qualities and you want to acquire those qualities in yourself.
Absolutely. And I think throughout my career, I did manage to do that, actually. So I'm very pleased with that.
That is great. That is great indeed. Okay, so I will just move forward to my next question from now on. You represented Middlesex County for a vast period of 17 seasons. How did the club help you to get a breakthrough into the international cricket?
Yes, I played for Middlesex from 1972 to 1990, but in actual fact, I was at Lord's 2 years previous to that. I actually went to Lord's in 1970 as a young professional with the MCC, along with Ian Botham, well, he's Ian Botham and now Lord Botham. and obviously Ian.
Sorry, and bottom.
Yeah, and Ian Gould, who obviously became an international umpire as well. We all started at the MCC Young Professionals as youngsters together. So I was actually at Lord's for a period of 20 years. Obviously, Middlesex, who's based at Lord's, were able to then sign me from the MCC. So, you know, I spent 20 years there. In terms of how they assisted me, obviously Middlesex is a very, you know, very big club. I think the fact that you're playing at Lord's, you know, it gives you a better opportunity than perhaps if you were playing somewhere out in the country. You get more, you're easily noticed, you get more newspaper reviews.
Of course, that is the thing.
Yeah, so being with a big club certainly helps you in that sense. But at the same time, you need to perform because, you know, if you don't perform, then you won't get talked about. So for me, it was also a good thing playing with a lot of very good players at Middlesex. You know, we had some excellent players, a very good captain, and at times, you know, we were able to put, you know, we were able to put 11 international players on the field at any one time. So, you know, all that assisted.
Okay, so that was a major thing that assisted you for right from Lords when you were playing as a professional for MCC, then moving on to the Middlesex where you have spent vast 18 seasons of your career. So these were the points actually that assisted you in becoming the international cricketer for the England. Okay, so I will just move forward to my next question now, and it is related to this point only. You created a history in 1980 when you became the first black cricketer to represent England. What were the challenges you overcame to become successful on this part?
Well, obviously being the first player, I guess it puts a lot of pressure on your shoulders because, you know, one thing you want to do is to succeed because, you know, your success will help other people to make the transition a lot easier. So there was obviously,
you're right.
There was a lot of pressure in that sense, but at the same time, I didn't really view it too much in that way because it was for me the fulfillment of an ambition as a kid wanting to play international cricket. So, you know, I saw it very clearly as that. It was perhaps later on that I realized the significance of being the first, because what it did was to give some of the other players like Devon Malcolm and Gladstone Small and those guys, it gave them the belief that, you know, that if they persevered, that they could get the opportunity as well. So for me, you know, I tried my best to be as good as I could be to make it easier for the others.
Okay, so how were the challenges there while like there were a lot of media talks uh, behind that? So I know the pressure was there. So how did you overcome that? Through meditation or through anything like any person you spoke up with at that time who just boosted your morale?
Well, I think for me, a key figure really was our captain, Mike Brearley. I think we had a very close relationship. You know, he was obviously very experienced as a player and as a captain and as a leader.
Okay.
I was also very fortunate that, you know, I started at Middlesex the same time as a lot of good young players like Mike Gattin and John Embry. We all started together. We all grew up together. But I think, you know, personally for me, you know, the captain and myself, you know, we would have long discussions, not just necessarily about me, but about the game itself and how it should be played and et cetera, et cetera. So he really was very, very important in my development.
Okay, so this is how you overcome the challenges, and this is how you created the history actually.
Yes. I mean, you know, the challenges were there, and I guess those were discussed as well. But for me, the most important thing was to be a cricketer and just try to be a good cricketer. If I was successful in doing that, then the challenges would become less. So I just really tried to focus on the playing of the game and let the rest sort itself out. So that was my main concern, just really to concentrate on playing.
All right. Okay, I will just move to the next section, and it is a short Q&A session. You just have to answer. So it's a short session. You just have to It's about the global cricket.
Yeah.
So the sport you love apart from cricket?
Well, there's only one. Well, I do like a lot of sports, but I mean, my favorite sport really is football, soccer. I was very, very interested in that sport from the moment I went to England as a 13-and-a-half-year-old boy. It has been a great passion of mine ever since. You know, I've played it at a fairly high level. I'm a qualified coach. It is something that I really love, and I was very pleased yesterday to watch the FA Cup final to see Arsenal win.
Yes.
You know, so football really is my sport.
Okay. So it's your sports apart from cricket. Okay, I just know that you are a football professional now.
Yeah.
Okay, so your all-time favorite cricket knock?
My all-time
Favorite knock inning?
I would say my favorite innings would be, I think I got 179 against Gloucestershire at Cheltenham, and why I think that perhaps was my favorite knock was because at one stage, Middlesex, we were 20 for 5 and in real trouble, and batting in the middle order, I had to bat with the tail, and I remember batting with Simon Hughes, who was a Middlesex fast bowler, obviously now a journalist and commentator. Simon Hughes, he came in at number 11, and we actually put on 98 for the last wicket, of which Simon scored 2. So, you know,
that is great.
So the sad thing about that innings was that even though we put on 98 for the last wicket, the thing that really worried me was that eventually I was the one that got out, and not him.
Oh.
Yeah.
So, that was quite like strange.
Yeah. So that was my favorite innings. Yeah.
Okay, that is a great inning, although from 20 to 5. So in which year did that great inning came?
That was against Gloucestershire. One of the there were the team that Mike Proctor played for, Courtney Walsh, Zahira.
Okay. In which year? In 1979, 82?
That would have been in the 80s. That would have been in the 80s. I'm not sure the exact year, but it would have been in the 80s. Yeah.
Okay. I'll just move forward to my next Q&A now.
Yeah.
Which team you feel can win the inaugural ICC Test Championship? Your pick.
I think really India are well positioned to do that. I think they've made a very good start, and they're way ahead of all the other teams who are going to have to play catch up. So I really believe the first Test Championship that India will win the first Test Championship, because you know, I think they're a very good side now, and they've got an excellent start. So that's the key. The others are playing catch up now.
Okay, that is great. Thank you so much. Being an Indian, I have loved this answer. Okay, so next question. The prime contender for the next year's ICC T20 World Cup that is set to be take place in India, I guess.
Well, the World Cup, I would say, you know, if it's being played in India, obviously, you know, the home team always has a very, very good chance. So I would say the likes of India, Australia, New Zealand, and really England. I think those are the 4 teams that really would be challenging for the trophy. And most likely, if the draws are correct, are the 4 most likely teams to be at the semi-final stage. But again, the team playing at home has a very good chance, just like the T20 World Cup that has been cancelled in Australia. I think when that takes place, I would expect that Australia would be favourites to win that by virtue. They're a good side, but by virtue of being at home, I would think they would be the favourites. But for the World Cup in India, I think India would be the favourites.
Okay, thank you so much again for this answer. As an Indian, I also love this answer. And I also feel that if the World Cup is being played in India, then India are the prime favorites for that. Okay, so the last question from my end, your future plans as for now?
Well, for now, but basically, I'm now retired from the university. I was at the University of the West Indies, 15 years, director of sports and head coach.
Yes, yes.
Retired actually last year. It's exactly 1 year since I've retired. But, I'm still very much involved with cricket. I'm a director on the Barbados Cricket Association. I'm a selector. I'm the chairman of the Severton Week Centre of Excellence, the Cricket Development Committee. I'm also a part of the West Indies Cricket Committee. So in those areas. But one of the other things that I'm developing right now is, as you know, I have written a football coaching manual, which now I am.
Yes. Yes, yesterday.
Yeah, so I'm actually spending time now developing that, not just around the Caribbean, but in other parts of the world. So, that's really going to be my future right now, as well as, more time with my family now. I'm away from work.
Okay. Okay, so you're just gonna move towards football now. You are associated with cricket, but you are also thinking to move towards football professional now, right?
Well, both. I think both of them. I think really, in terms of football now, really, because I was a coach before, so now I've retired. I really have no desire to be a coach, but what I intend to do because of the manual is to really act as a consultant or an expert in that field. So that is of more interest to me. To develop other places, help develop their coaches and their coaching structures to get better players. The Caribbean has lots of very talented football players, but what they need really is proper coaching, good organization, good structure, to develop them. So, those are things that I'm hoping to get involved with.
Okay, thank you so much. So I just wanna. It's my pleasure to taking your answers, and I feel I wish you best of luck for your future, and I would just want to wish you a good and safe, happy year ahead. As this year is really being hampered by the pandemic. So it was great talking to you, and thank you so much for your time.
No, it's a great pleasure, and thank you for asking me to be part of your podcast. It really has been a great pleasure, and in the future, I'd be really delighted at any time, to assist. And yes, this year has been a difficult year for everyone, really around the world, not just in these parts. And I really hope that that we can really get past this unfortunate pandemic and get back to some degree of normalcy, not necessarily get back to how things were before, but perhaps a new normal.
Yeah, for sure. A new normal will be the best thing by the end of this year. So thank you so much, and of course, I would love to host you again for an interview when the time demands.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I'm always available, and just please get in touch.
Sure, sure. I would love to get in touch with you, and your time is really a pleasure for me.
Okay, thank you very much, and take care.
Okay, okay. You too. Bye.
Okay, bye.
And thank you to all the viewers for watching the interview. Bye.
Okay.